evening. My name is Dave Frank. Welcome to our 9th Internet Master Class. We're coming to you tonight live from the Miles Cafe at 212 East 52nd Street in Manhattan. And we have a cold December night, a perfect night for some hot bass lines. So tonight we're going to be studying a subject that's very near and dear to my heart. And the subject is different techniques for playing walking bass line style. So this will be applicable for pianists, also for bassists. And we'll be focusing on basic and advanced concepts of how to create and sustain a walking bass line when you're playing. And I think we'll have some fun tonight. I recommend that you go to my website at davefrankjazz.com and download the notes for this clinic. I think that would help a lot in terms of understanding the proceedings. So as usual, I'll play a little bit as we get started, and I thank you for joining me on this journey through the left hand. Playing with the walking bass line, which is what you just heard obviously, is a style of piano playing that is most often used in solo jazz performance. Popularized by jazz greats Lenny Tristano and Dave McKenna, among others, the walking left-hand bass line can effectively substitute for a rhythm section, if desired, and provides a rhythmic and melodic foundation for right-hand improvisation. The definition of a walking bass line is really important, and we're going to define a walking bass line as a melodic line primarily made up of quarter notes that intersects the chord changes of a tune, usually at the root. So the first thing to know about a bass line is that it's really just a melodic line, and it's even easier in many ways than a improv right-hand line, because the improv right-hand line is usually made up of eighth notes. And starting there, and then could go into triplets and different things. But the bass line is almost always going to be quarter notes. And we just always want that quarter note to outline a simple melody. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate some basic walking bass line techniques using the first 8 bars of Green Dolphin Street, which is the tune du jour. So the chord change of this tune, you can read this in your notes, is like this. C major 7 for 2 measures, C minor 6 or C minor 7 for 2 measures, D7 for a measure, G7 for a measure, C7, major 7 for 2 measures. Okay, we can play that one more time. Here's the basic changes. C minor 7 for 2 measures. Could be either D minor 7 or D7 here. G7 to C major 7 for 2 measures. So the task of creating a walking bass line is to target the roots of the chord at the point of the chord change. So if our tune starts with a C major 7, we want to target the root generally when we begin, especially playing bass lines. Later on, we can target other degrees of the scale and of the chord, but the root is still going to be what's mostly targeted. So what we do is we target the root, and then we use, at first we can use stepwise motion to connect the roots. So this whole game of the bass line is like connecting the dots, and the dots are the roots of the chords. So a good way to practice this and to learn it is to have different concepts of how you get from one root to the next root. So we're just going to choose some different ones, and you can practice this on your own, and it will help you to understand this subject. So if we start on the root of a chord and we ascend in steps, that's the first way to connect our roots. So if we have C major 7, I'll take this slow. So I'm ascending in quarter notes. I'm targeting my next root, which is a C minor. Mostly here doing steps. Now I'm targeting my D, which is the next root. Now I'm going to G7. I'm going to target my G. And then I'm going to hit the C root. Okay? That would be doing an ascending stepwise bass line for the first 8 measures of Green Dolphin Street. Let's try it again. This is ascending. I'm targeting my roots. So it's kind of like a heat-seeking missile after a while. You're always kind of feeling where that root is going to come. And the idea is to connect the roots with a melodic line. And in this case, we're going to ascend to G, to C. Okay? And you'll notice it just sounds like a very basic, smooth melody. The roots are a given, so we start with the roots. And then we're going to ascend in steps or descend in steps. And the ear is what chooses the notes in the middle of the roots. So this is where the practice comes in. You want to practice different ways of going from one root to another root. Now we're going to try a descending root and descending bass line, and we're going to do the same chord sequence. So now we're going to do descending, stepwise, C major. Now we're going to target the C for a C minor. Now we're going to target the D for the D7. We're going to target the G. And we're going to end up at the C again. Okay? Let's try that one more time. Now we're talking about concentrating on a descending stepwise motion between the roots. So I'm starting high. Generally, the range of the bass line, it could be very low. It's okay to use these notes quite a bit, very, very low, because that kind of simulates a bass player. And generally, the highest you want to go on a bass line would be about middle C, in that general range. Sometimes you might extend that for certain reasons. But basically, this kind of range of the piano here is a really good range for the bass. It's okay to really spend a lot of time down on the bottom there. Sounds great. Especially on a grand piano like this, Steinway. It really has a big, meaty sound. So let me demonstrate this again with a descending stepwise motion. Okay, I'm targeting my C minor, so I have a C on that. Just descending all the way for the moment. Now I'm going to target my D7 with a D. You'll notice the steps in the left hand, and then target the G, and then end up on a C. Okay? Now, we're going to try to add some leaps in addition to the steps in the bass line. Now, when we're talking about a step, we're always talking about either a half step, like a C to a C sharp, or a whole step, a C to a D. Those would both be considered steps. A leap is anything wider than a major second interval. So the smallest leap would be like a C to an E flat, a minor third. And you could leap easily a whole octave in a bass line. So what we want to do as we get to know this way of playing more is we want to combine steps and leaps. So let's try that. And so I'm going to ascend from root to root, but I'm now going to use a combination of steps and some leaps, and you'll see the difference. See, I'm having it wider, still keeping it quarter notes. I'm still targeting my roots. So now I'm approaching a D minor 7 or a D7, either way. Now I'm approaching my G, and I'm going to do some leaps on the bottom. The leaps are really useful so it doesn't sound too much like scales. If you use too many of the steps, it can sound a little scaly. So the leaps kind of make it jump a little bit, and that's great. So again, the ear will tell you, your ear will tell you how to combine the steps and the leaps. But you can practice doing all steps and then, for example, all short leaps like this. See, these are all leaps. As long as it's a melody and it connects those roots, it's going to sound good. But basically, we want a combination of the steps and the leaps. Okay, watch. So I'm going to step up, leap a little bit. I'm going to leap down a little bit. Try to make a melody and target the roots. It's okay to do two of the same notes from time to time. Now I'm bringing it way down. Okay, let's try this again. We'll start descending. So I'm going to descend from C to shining C, as we say in the music business. Now I'm hitting my D, and I'm going to leap up a little bit, and then leap down to my G, and then leap all the way down to my C. So there are so many varieties within this generally narrow scope of steps and leaps and hitting roots and things like that. There's still tremendous variety of different ways that you can actually get from one root to another. The best way to practice this is you can start by writing this out. So you could take the first 8 measures of a song like we're doing now, and you can write out 20 different ways that you can make this bass line work from root to root. And that's a good way to kind of get your ear going. Your ear will tell you how those half steps, that's a little bit of the tricky part. And it's just a question of spending a little time. There's a kind of a natural melody using steps and leaps. And if you write it out to start, I think you'll find that it's successful. Okay, now, we can also use some arpeggios in the left hand in the bass line. And we can either use triad arpeggios or 7th chord arpeggios. So that would sound like this. So now we're going to do an ascending arpeggio from C, descending arpeggio from C, now an ascending arpeggio in C minor. All these are different ways to think. Now we're going to step a little bit from the D to the G. Again, this is a good way to practice. Try to exhaust the possibilities on a narrow amount of music is a great way to practice. You'll never exhaust all the possibilities. You'll get exhausted, but you won't exhaust all the possibilities. But you want to feel like you are. This kind of practicing, when I was studying with Lenny Tristano, he had us doing this for hours. And the story that we've heard about Lenny himself is he was more or less the inventor of this style of playing. And for 1 year, Lenny played nothing but bass lines, which is kind of hard to believe. But that's the story. And it's this kind of practicing where you're grinding away all kinds of possibilities. We want to get it to the point where it's more or less second nature and more or less automatic pilot. Even though you hear the notes, the left hand kind of learns these patterns, and it just is like breathing after a while. So we can use some triads. Let's try that again. We'll start by using a 7th chord arpeggio. C, E, G, B. Now we'll descend with the arpeggio on a C minor 7. Now we'll do a D7 arpeggio up, and a D flat arpeggio is a slight change there, to a C arpeggio. Okay, we're just taking the first 8 bars. Okay, we'll try it again. Watch. Now we're going to do a descending arpeggio from the C. Now we're going to step up to the C minor arpeggio. We'll do a descending D arpeggio, descending G arpeggio, and an ascending C arpeggio. Let's try this one more time. We're going to combine steps, leaps, and arpeggios. When you practice, it's a great idea to take one of these concepts at a time and just take one, as we said, one short part of a tune or a chord progression and just work out as many possibilities as you can. And you'll notice that pretty soon this starts to become very, very second nature to you. It's a kind of a cool feeling when it happens. Okay, so we're going to try this one more time. First 8 measures. We'll start with a descending step pattern. Now we'll do a descending arpeggio. Now we'll do an ascending step pattern and a descending arpeggio of the G chord. And then we'll do a step pattern on the C. All of it sounds good. Okay. Another technique we can use is to use an octave leap. And when we use an octave leap, usually we're going to put it on the first and second beats of the bar. So it sounds like this. And that octave leap really makes it kind of jump, which is fun. And so it could be done in different places, but the first place to try it would be when you play your root, then play a root immediately below that one. That's a real powerful leap. It's one small leap for man and one big leap for, I don't know, whoever else. One small step for man and one big leap for mankind. Okay. Okay, let me do that again. You can do it twice. That's a real cool pattern. Okay. And the last of the basic motions of basic bass lines is an 8-5-1 motion. And an 8-5-1 motion would go like this. C, G, C. And then from there you can take it into either steps or leaps. Stepping. Now I'm going to 8-5-1. And you can reverse it and go 1-5-8 also. Just like a chef makes a dish and has a combination of different elements and spices, the secret to a good bass line is to combine these different approaches, sometimes using steps, sometimes using leaps, sometimes trying an octave leap, sometimes trying an arpeggio, and you're going to mix it up in a melodic way, and it's going to sound very delightful. Now, to put together this first level of bass line, you can turn to the Green Dolphin Street bass line, which I've written here, and it's in your notes. And I've just kind of put together a basic bass line that combines these different elements that we're talking about. Mostly we're talking about targeting the roots at the point of the chord change, and we're doing that through ascending steps, descending steps, ascending or descending leaps, arpeggios, or an 8-5-1 motion. These are the basic ingredients of the beginning bass line. So I'm going to talk you through this bass line, and you can read along with me, and I'll tell you what's happening. Okay, and we're going to play this 8 VB, an octave lower than written. So we're going to start with ascending steps, rather. And we're going to do ascending and descending leaps with an octave leap. Now, ascending steps, descending steps, an arpeggio going down, descending steps. Now we're going to do descending leaps, descending steps, ascending steps, an arpeggio down. We're back to the top, ascending steps, and now we have a descending octave, ascending steps between the D and the G, arpeggio there, an arpeggio here. Now we go to the coda. Ascending arpeggio. 1-5-8. Descending steps. All right. I'm going to try try that one more time so you can follow along again. Here we go. Ascending steps. Descending steps. Ascending steps, a descending octave. Ascending steps. Descending steps. Ascending arpeggio. Descending steps. Ascending steps. Ascending steps again. Now we have descending steps. Ascending steps. Descending arpeggio. Now we're taking it on home back to C with ascending steps. Descending steps. Ascending. Descending. We have an octave. Yeah. Ascending steps. Descending steps. Ascending arpeggio. Descending arpeggio. Descending steps. Ascending arpeggio. All right. Thank you. Okay, how's everybody doing out there? Any, all right. Are there any questions up till this point? Any questions, comments, criticisms, complaints, confusions? I see Timmy, and I see Tony, and I see Patty. Okay. If you have any questions, you can send them to me at davefrankjazz.com. Is it making sense? Okay. So the key to a good bass line is that swing. So as Duke said, it don't mean a thing unless it has that swing. And the bass line creates a real strong swing. I'm just going to play a little bit with the bass line just so you can feel that. So what we want from a good bass line is a strong feeling of forward motion. And you can intend to get that. You can imagine that you're a bass player, ba-doom, boom, boom, ba, boom, and you want to feel that strong ascending movement. It's very powerful. For some reason, even though it's kind of monotonous, it never gets boring. I'm just going to play a little bit with the bass line before we go on. Intoxicating. Okay. Okay, let's look at some more advanced bassline ideas. We can use what we call a halftime bassline, which creates a real interesting and different kind of a feel. And a halftime bassline can be is composed of half notes instead of quarter notes, and this is a slower kind of swing. And generally, we can put the halftime bass line either on the first and the third, or the second and the fourth beats of the bar. And they're both very different. So if we put a halftime bass line on the first and the third beat, that would be like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Called a halftime bass line. It's sometimes a good way to start a composition or an improvisation, because it gives you a lot of room to make it more swinging later with a full-time bass line. Half-time bass line on 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 3, 1, 3. 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 9. Full-time bass line. Half-time bass line. Sometimes you can switch. It's more of a laid-back kind of feel. Now that was the halftime bass line on 1 and 3. If you put your halftime bass line on the beats 2 and 4, it sounds very interesting. So the way you do that is by counting in 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. Sounds a little off somehow, but off in a kind of a pleasing way. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. It's a Green Dolphin Street kind of night. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. It's pretty cool. I like that halftime bass line. Okay. Sometimes you can use 2 swing eighth notes instead of a quarter note, and that also has an interesting kind of a rhythmic feel to it. So that would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's almost like a hiccup, but it delays it just a little bit, and it's real nice to use occasionally. Another one we can use is an eighth note triplet. This is really kind of, I don't know, nasty. Tuck at the cone. Boom, boom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now if we put all those 3 together, we can mix the rhythms up. 1, quarter notes, swing eighth notes, quarter notes, swing eighth notes, triplet, quarter notes, swing eighths, quarter notes, swing eighth, triplet. Always connecting the roots in a melodic fashion. Bucket the go. Boom, boom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, boom, 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 boom. Sometimes ascending, sometimes descending, using arpeggios and steps to make a nice smooth melody. Bucket the go. That's a nice technique. That's a nice technique. Now, we've been talking about hitting the roots all the time, but you can also target non-root tones in the bass line, and the easiest way to starting to do that, and there's nothing easy about it, But the best way to start to do that is once you learn how to target the roots and can smoothly move that way, then target another of the chord tones like the third. And when you're targeting a third, it creates a real subtle sound in the bass line. It's subtly different. It's hard to pinpoint really to the listener what's different. It's just a different, slightly different approach. It sounds like this. Now I'm targeting the thirds of every chord. F sharp on a D, B on a G, E on a C, F on a D minor, B on a G, E on a C, A flat on an F minor, D on a B flat, G on an E flat. This is targeting the third. Now if we could target the fifth, it sounds like this. G on a C. Everything is the same. There's still steps and leaps, but I'm targeting a different note beside the root. I'm being rootless. Here's the fifth. Okay, that's a really kind of a hip thing. So you can practice doing that. You can practice writing out bass lines where you're targeting the third, the fifth, and the seventh. And then you're still ascending with steps and leaps and arpeggios and things like that. But you're just targeting a different chord tone besides the root. A nice technique is what we call repetitive patterns. And this is something that you would, it's almost like a Baroque kind of a thing, like a Bach thing, where you take a basic pattern and you'll repeat that pattern. And you can kind of play it out for a while and then drop it and go back to your steps and leaps. Stepping and leaping. This is using a repetitive pattern. Alrighty. Okay. Another thing we can use is what we call a smudge. A smudge is like a grace note, a half step below a bass line note, like this. Kind of makes it sound a little funny. We call that a smudge. Sometimes it's good to use the same finger, and sometimes you can't, but when you can, it's a nice effect to use the same finger. Changes the texture of the sound. It's just got this great forward motion. We'll use the smudge. Here, boom, 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 boom. Dave McKenna uses this a lot in his playing. It's great. Okay. Now, most times the bass line has a 4 feel to it. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. The feel is just in generally 4/4, and you're feeling in groups of 4. It has a 4 feel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. But you can also change that, and an interesting change of rhythmic context is to use a 3/5 rhythm. This is real advanced. You'd have to change where the chords are coming in this way. But the 3/5 rhythm sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you'd have to bring the chord in early if you use that 1, 2, 3, 1. But it really breaks up that basic 4 feel. There's a 4 feel. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Hope you're catching some of this. And then you can also use a 2 feel like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay. And the last of the advanced techniques will be a pedal point. And a lot of times we'll use that on the 5th of the chord, but it could be used on the root as well. And that adds a whole lot of tension to the bass line. So a pedal point will go like this. Steps and leaps, pedal point. I don't. Are there any questions at this point? Are people following? Yeah, go ahead, Elaine.
Yeah, so the 3/5 rhythm. So for taking Green Dolphin Street,
Right.
It wouldn't change where you come in because it 3 and 5 come out to 8. So you play C major 7 and you come in with the C minor 6 at the same time you usually would.
Right.
But by the time you were on the D minor 7 to G7,
Right.
you would scoot the G7 over a single beat.
That's right. So Elias is asking the question, when you have the 3/5 feel, if you have one chord in a measure or one chord in every 2 measures, then it's not going to change the placement of the chord. But if you have 2 chords in a measure, then it will change the placement of the second chord. And you'll have to bring that in early. And for improvising, it's very interesting to change the feels up. I'll show you what I mean, like this. We'll stay on this tune just a little longer. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the chord placement will be changing with that, and that's a lot of fun. That's hard to do. But what we want in any kind of a musical creation is we want to shift concepts, we want to change what we're doing. Slight variations in many different things is what keeps it interesting, especially with the bass line, which tends to be a kind of monotonous kind of a feel in a way. But when we change all these steps and leaps and we change the rhythms and so forth, it keeps it interesting to the listener. Now I want to explain to you guys how you can start developing this kind of playing. So what we've talked about are some of the basic techniques and basic concepts that go into a swinging left-hand bass line. It doesn't have to be left-hand bass line if you're playing bass, but you could play a bass line on almost any instrument, although on flute it would sound a little unusual. But before bass, they played bass lines on tubas and trombones, and it sounds great. The key to developing this kind of playing is to take it slowly and to master a step at a time. What we're doing, especially as we get into the higher levels where we're improvising a right-hand line at the same time as we're improvising a bass line, is we have to teach the brain how to handle this task. So the best way to start this is to write bass lines over lots of tunes. That's the best way to kind of get this basic feel of how it works and to train your ear. So if I was taking, we're going to do another tune now called Solar. I have the changes in the notes. Okay? So the best thing to do would be to write a bass line first, or write 10 bass lines. Try the different techniques. Okay? Now, after you've written bass lines to lots of tunes and you feel fairly comfortable with that, you can start improvising them. And of course, improvising is a whole nother level. And the best way to start that would be to start improvising over simple progressions. So if you just take a simple 2/5 progression, very slowly on the metronome, and just use all of the concepts and try to squeeze as much lemon juice out of the lemon as you can. So I'm just going to do this simple progression. D minor 7, G7. You want to try to just get every possibility you can think of to C major 7. And you can try this in a bunch of keys. Very slowly, target the roots, use steps and leaps. Okay, now we can try it in a different key. You might try 5 or 6 different keys. In F, it would be G minor to C. Follow your natural ear. G ascending to C, descending to F. All kinds of different possibilities, steps and leaps. Try repetitive patterns, octave leaps, everything you can think of. And spend some time on it. Like Lenny used to do only this for a whole year. That's a whole lot of time. You can try the minor 2/5 progression also. That's going to be very useful when you're improvising over tunes. See, sometimes I ascend, sometimes I descend. And the first decision to always make when you're playing a bass line is whether you're going to be ascending to your next root or descending to the next root. And that's a kind of immediate decision. It happens very fast. Your inner ear just tells you, ascend to the root. Now I'm going to descend to the root. And as soon as you get that signal to ascend or descend, then all of your practice is going to click in. You can do other progressions and spend a lot of time at this level. You can spend weeks writing bass lines, weeks doing improvisation on simple progressions. So we could do like 1, 6, 2, 5, 1. Really get comfortable with it so you just can really anticipate where you should go. 6, 2, 5, 1. Okay. And You can do that for a while, working with different progressions and different keys. It might take a few months to do that, and that will really prepare you for the first challenge point, which is to improvise a bass line over a complete tune. And that sounds like this. This bass line swinging over the changes, and you spend a lot of time. I spent maybe 6 months on one tune, just trying, the more familiar you get with it, with the song, the better you're going to be able to get these concepts of the bass line. This is really repetition, repetition, repetition. It's like Picasso used to paint the same still life every day, or Pablo Casals used to do the same exercises every day for 90 years. So with this bass line, just take off a little bit of it and practice specific concepts, and you're going to feel it come together. Now, the most advanced thing to do with the bass line is to improvise a right-hand line at the same time as you're improvising a bass line. And that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because how is that possible? Nobody really knows how it's possible to improvise two lines. It seems like it's an impossible thing to ask yourself to do. But it is a natural thing for people to learn how to do. The key is that you want to just go from the shallow end of the pool to the deep end of the pool. You have to start really simple, and you have to give your brain a certain task. It's like if you were riding a unicycle and then juggling. You'd have to really master that unicycle first, and then maybe add a couple of pins, and then maybe add another pin, and maybe add a electric saw, and then maybe add some anything. So you start simple and then make it more complicated. It's very important to do it this way. So I'm going to show you how you do that. So presumably you've written a lot of bass lines over tunes. You've improvised over progressions. That's very useful because it's going to prepare you for the challenge of improvising over a whole set of changes. So when you start adding a right hand improvised line over the bass line, start with a very simple right hand line. You could start, for example, just with half notes. So if we take Solar, I'm just going to improvise a left hand bass line and play half notes in the right hand. Feel comfortable at that level. And again, start slow. I'm playing it faster. Then it would be probably prudent to practice at a very slow tempo, even 60 on the metronome. Lenny used to have us practicing at 40 on the metronome and then move it slowly up, slowly up, slowly up. He had us doing a lot of nutty exercises. we used to have to improvise bass lines with one finger. Still don't know why I spent years doing that. But anyway, now we can do another rhythm, like a simple quarter, quarter, half is a good way to start putting the two together at a very slow tempo. We can try quarter, eighth, eighth, half. comfortable at that level of complexity. And then the next thing would be to try short eighth note lines in the right hand. By a short line, we're talking about 1 to 2 measures. And this is the next step in the progression of free improvisation with 2 hands. And you'll notice if you try this that it really works, that the brain can handle a little bit, and then a little bit more, and then you'll kind of get a little light on your dashboard that says, I can handle this. And then when you start seeing that light come on, that's when you go to the next level of complexity, and then it'll be a little kind of iffy for a while, and then you'll feel, oh, I can handle this, the light comes on. So if we did short eighth note lines, it would be like this. Slowly, you can stretch the right hand out until you're freely creating eighth note lines against a walking bass line. This is a major step. On Solar. You can pop some chords in to create another layer of sound. From there we can add triplets. So triplets would be Tennessee, 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 Tennessee. Eighth notes is New York. New York, New York, New York, New York, New York, New York. Triplets is Tennessee, Tennessee, Tennessee. Back to eighth notes. Triplets. Now we can go to 16th notes, which is Mississippi, 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 Mississippi. Triplets. Now we can add some chord solos in the right hand to change the texture again. Eighth notes. Chords. Triplets. Sixteenths. Go wild. It's perfectly legal. Have a ball. It's so much fun to play this way. Once you get going, you really just don't want to stop. The people in your house might want you to stop. As my mother said, I created my own monster. She used to make me practice and when I didn't want to, and then finally I kind of caught the jazz bug, and then she couldn't get me to stop. So that's the one liability with learning how to play bass lines. You may kind of never want to do anything else. Are there any questions, again, before we bid adieu? Yes, please.
How long would you say it takes from writing your first bass lines to playing, say, 8 notes improvising?
Okay, the question was, how long does it take to get from writing the first bass line to being able to play an eighth note pattern, right hand swing eighth note free line against the bass line? Well, that's kind of an individual thing, but it could certainly take 4 to 6 months, no problem. What you do is you take it step by step, and what I've outlined here is a pretty good way to do it, where you start with writing the bass lines, and then you add some simple patterns on the right hand. And using those repetitive rhythmic patterns is real interesting, because it gives the brain a certain kind of task that it can grab onto, and it works. And then the brain is like a rubber band, especially my brain, like a rubber band. It stretches out a little bit all the time. Okay, so thank you for being here, being there. We're having a great time here in New York City at Miles Cafe. I want to say thank you to my new video person, Constantine Limperis. We have a real TV camera here. Things are improving all the time. Thank you, Constantine. And Fela Davis, my sound person. And I also want to thank Joey Horvat, who's my computer person who helps me to upload these things to YouTube. So this is Dave Frank, signing off. Feel free to write with any questions if I can help you in any way. It's really been a pleasure. I'm just going to play it out.